powers do not make for holiness or goodness, and therefore one should not be impressed by them. And there may be people who have these powers. Now, Rambam was talking about certain charlatans in his time, but it doesn't mean that all people were charlatans. In his time, in his place, they were. Rambam also says that there are no such thing as demons. Now, we know that the Kabbalah and the Talmud is filled with discussion about them. Rambam says this is the opinions of single opinions. Those of us who've seen the pages of the Talmud see the discussion about demons over and over again in many different places, in Brachas, Psachim, and other places. This is hard for us to accept, that this is the opinion of a single rabbi, or single rabbis. It's not the halacha like that. In fact, the Vilna Gaon berates the Rambam for this conclusion. Clearly, the Kabbalists don't agree. Shmuel Vital, Reb Chaim Vital, in his writings, discussed the differences between incarnate dibuks and other kinds of negative forces, including Shaidim or Malachim Roim. The Rebbe sent a letter to a woman who was from Yemen in the 60s. It might have been after 67, or it might have been before 67. The story that I heard was from Rabbi Elach Koch, who was a Rosh Yeshiva Lubavitch in Eretz Yisrael. He told us the people who were there with me were Rabbi Shlomo Levitin and one of the Ashkenazi brothers who was nifter recently, Rabbi Mordechai Ashkenazi's younger brother, Nat Chaim, the other one. And we were there, I was there, hearing this from Elach Koch, that there was a woman who had problems with her children. She was having stillborn children, and the children were born torn. Didn't describe how they were torn, but they were torn. Rabbi Menachem Shlomo Galadi, who is one of the great scholars of Chabad, a brilliant scholar who is still alive, is working in education in Eretz Yisrael. He was then known as Rabbi Shlomo Galadi, a Yemenite, went to Yemenite families to get them to write letters to the Rebbe, took her letter and sent it to the Rebbe and got a response. And the Rebbe said to her, why doesn't she tell the truth? The truth is that when she was younger, she had a boyfriend, but the boyfriend was a shindalet, a shade. And then when it wasn't her fault, when she realized that he was a shade, she left him, and the shade is taking revenge from her. The woman said, it's true, but how does the Rebbe know that? This was the response. Now, what happened afterwards, I don't know, but this story was told to me by Elach Koch. At the time, the other students, this was on a Thursday night, said they don't believe it. Elach Koch said, I also didn't believe it, except that Reb Shlomo Galadi said, what can I do? I saw the letter. Now, I know this is second hand, but it's coming from a responsible person who heard it from a responsible person, one of the greatest scholars of Chabad in this century, Rabbi Galadi. And so the fact is that over the years, I have had opportunity to be in contact with people who've had wondrous things happening to them, and that have crossed meeting with people who had certain powers. I'll tell you one more story. Rabbi Yitzhak Lipschitz, my colleague from Crimea, was the Chabad Shliach in Alabama. In Alabama, there is a children's hospital. There was a woman from South America who was there having her child treated for a dread disease. He had the woman write a letter to the Rebbe. The Rebbe gave a letter. The child should have refuah shlema. And the grandmother of the little child, the mother's mother, wasn't satisfied, of course, with the spiritual activities that she was involved with. She wanted to have something for sure. She heard about this, I guess must have been a witch, a person who had these powers, who could do something for people even at a long distance. This witch told the grandmother to tell the mother to have the child in a white sheet in her bedroom, and that at midnight she would visit her. The mother of the child at first was going to do it, and then decided that since she had written a letter to the Rebbe, this wasn't appropriate. And so instead of putting a white sheet on, she put a blue sheet on, and sent the child to sleep. At midnight, the child comes into her bedroom and says, "Mommy, Mommy, come to my room, I'm scared." So the mother says, "What's the problem?" She says, "Mommy, I feel as if I'm not alone." This is at midnight. Mother comes with it, turns the lights on, and says, "You see, there's nothing here. Don't worry." And the child was able to go to sleep. The next day, the mother received a call from the grandmother that the witch had told her she couldn't find her daughter. Where was her daughter? She wasn't able to find her in the room. Now, this is a story, just one of many stories that I've heard, but it has a source. Rabbi Yitzhak Meir Lipschitz, who lives in Crimea. You're welcome to contact him. The point is that there are people in this world that have powers. We are not impressed with people who have powers. The people who say that there are no people with powers, if they were ever confronted by these powers, might lose their faith. My faith is not based upon people who can tell the future, people who can enliven the dead. My faith in the Rebbe has nothing to do with his miraculous abilities. I've seen it, but that's not the reason why I'm a Lubavitcher Chassid. I'm a Lubavitcher Chassid because of Lubavitch ideology, because of the truth of Lubavitch ideology, not because of powers.